to take away. So today's AMA will be talking about the role of failure in entrepreneur's journey. It's often said that 8 out of 10 startups usually fail. And, failure comes with its own negative emotions and outcomes. But I believe as entrepreneurs, failure can be seen as an opportunity or a learning experience in our entrepreneurial journey. So today's AMA is going to be a very exciting one, diving deep into our topic. And we have our guest CEO in the house. But before I introduce him, I would want us to have a quick round of introduction to know who is on the call with us. So you can either type in the chat box your name, what you do, or you can also unmute, or you ask to be unmuted, and then you share with us your name and then your business. Okay, who's starting for us? I can see Catherine. Okay.
Should I start?
Yes, Catherine, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine, and I'm volunteering for Space for 4 months altogether. It is close to my last month, unfortunately. And I'm supporting the startups of the ecosystem with a free mentorship program, and also supporting the strategy development process of the startup support of Space. And I'm very honored to be part of the Space team as of now. Thank you. Back to Josie.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Catherine is really doing an amazing work in our community, supporting the startups, and it's really a testimony from the time she started with them till now. There's been a lot of progress and transformation in their business, and we're excited to have Catherine with us. Thank you, Catherine.
So much.
Okay. We have Maxwell, John, and Naomi. You can as well type in the chat box for us. Hello, Naomi.
Hello, Hello, Josephine. Catherine, how are you? It's
I'm
been
good.
a while.
How are you? Long time.
Yes, I traveled. I just got back yesterday.
Great. Good to have you back.
Thank you. I might be coming to Space tomorrow. My name is Naomi. I am with Kaya Groceries, and so I run a grocery shopping services for institutions, individuals. So we have the retail shopping, that is individual shopping, and we have the bulk buy share, where we buy things in bulk and share bi-weekly on Thursdays. And then I also run digital marketing services. So I help do trainings, coaching, and consultancy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Naomi. We hope to see you soon. Okay, so we have in the chat box Maxwell. Maxwell is in charge of media. Thank you, Maxwell. And then before I go to our guest CEO, we have Jan and Portia. I don't know if it's possible to give a quick introduction by unmuting or typing in the chat box.
Hi, I'm new here. My name is Portia. So Dr. Tineje and Naomi are my schoolmates. I am starting a business. I started it a couple of years ago. It didn't work out, and I just recently returned from Ghana. So I started it again, and I was interested in what they have to say because I want to see how my business is going to go. That's why I decided to join. I'm actually at work, so I will mute and put my video closed. But if I have any question, I will definitely type it in. Thank you for having me, and I hope to talk soon.
Thank you so much, Portia. I hope you have a lot of questions answered today and a lot of motivation to start once again. Thank you so much. So we have John. John, I don't know if you're ready to introduce yourself. Okay, we can hear you, John.
Yeah, hello, I'm John Kwati. Presently, I'm into farming and entrepreneur as well. Mainly, I sell farm produce, that's corn, maize, and the rest. I'm interested. I want to know how today's episode will affect my business. Yeah, that's what I'll say for now.
Nice to meet you, John. Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining. And I believe there's a lot you take away today. Thank you. Today's topic is really an interesting one, and a lot of startups can relate with this. And I'm sure most of us here have our own stories to share with our failures in our businesses. And our guest CEO will be doing a great job today. So today, our guest CEO, we have, so he is a senior optometrist. Let me start with his title because he's not a small man. And I'm privileged and really honored to be hosting him today. So he is a senior optometrist. He's a mental health advocate. He is a certified master coach. He is an author of 6 books, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then he is a speaker and is named as one of the top 100 speakers in Ghana by Speakers Bureau Africa. He is also the CEO of Mandate Books. That's a publishing bookshop, and then a publishing company. So looking at all these titles, you can imagine what he has for us today. He's a full package. And today's session is really going to be interesting. So we encourage you all to participate actively in the discussions and then ask questions throughout. And you can as well share your stories to encourage others on the call. So without much ado, I would hand over to our guest CEO, Dr. Samuel Tineji. Thank you, sir. Please, you can take over. Okay, over to you, Dr. Samuel.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I hope everybody else hears me.
You can drop in the chat box if you can hear clearly.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So what do you want to know? I mean, I think this session is asking me anything. Or do I have to present on the topic before and then we ask questions? Is that it?
Yes. So I've done your introduction for you. I don't know if there's something I left out to be added. You can as well add for us.
Okay. All right. So I think that the subjects to be handled today is about failing. There's a very big difference between failure as a noun and failing as a verb. Okay. So now if we are talking about failing as a verb, then we are describing the process of not hitting a mark or not achieving a goal that you have set. Okay. Now, I'm very, very particular about definitions and words, especially the origin of words and then why we define them the way we define them. So it is important to understand them so that if there have been a interpretation of the word along the years, you'll be able to get why it should not be so, and then we'll be able to get the practical lessons from the word. So I'm going to stick with the verb failing, in the sense of not being able to achieve a set target or not being able to hit a set mark. Now, if you look at the foundation of the definition, you realize that there have to be a mark. And then that mark has to be set by the person who is in question. So for example, if I set a target, okay, then if I don't hit that target, that is the time that I would say that I have failed, or there have been a failing on my part. All right. Now it means that before you can actually fail, you need to have taken action of setting a target. All right. Now there is also the idea that not doing anything at all prevents failing, which is not true. Because the act of not doing anything at all is also doing something. You know, so the process of not doing anything at all in itself is doing something. So whether you like it or not, you are going to have to face the idea of not hitting a target or hitting it. The reason why so many people are scared of the word failing or failure is because it's very, very much connected to rejection. As a species, when we were developing, when we were still doing hunting and gathering, the prospect of danger was always around. So when you left your cave and you went into the field to look for food or to hunt or whatever it is, the probability of not coming back was very high. All right. So as a superior species to other animals on Earth, the part of our brain, the amygdala, or the part we call the reptile brain, developed very, very, very well. And the reptile brain's job is to put us in a state of fight or flight. All right. So the idea was that we needed that part of our brain to survive. So the prospect of not being able to get food and come back to the cave was dire. The consequences was death. So it's either you were able to get food and come back to your cave or you died. All right. So the prospect of failing was death and life. And you know, according to biologists, our brain has not undergone any drastic changes from that time to now. So we still have that reptile brain in our minds. It's still there. All right. Now the conditions have changed. There's no more danger of not getting food to eat or getting close to where in its term as compared to how it used to be in the past. But that part of our brain that was developed to be extremely antagonistic to not getting what you have said is still there. So we have a brain that has been purposely developed to avoid failing, living in a system where the consequences of failure is no longer death. So we are equipped with a part of our brain that is so extreme as compared to the circumstances we are enduring right now. And therefore, for every single human being, although the prospect of failing is no longer, the consequence of failing is no longer death, the fear of failure is still there. And that is why so many people are scared stiff of not hitting a target or achieving a goal. But if you even look at the way the human body develops, we are conditioned to develop under pressure and stress. What I mean is that when you are born, your immune system only becomes good after it has resisted several bacteria and then virus attacks, because it learns. And that is the whole idea behind vaccination, right? The immune system learns how to fight diseases and viruses. So the presence of adversity is the only way we grow and survive. Now, there are a lot of records that indicate that children who are brought up in sterilized environments, that there are no contact with bacteria or viruses, end up having weakened immune systems. Okay, and children who do not engage in a lot of activity that requires them to be standing on their feet and putting pressure on their bones are delayed in walking and running. So even if you look at biologically, failure has been attached to the progression of development. And therefore, if you don't have the capacity to endure failing, then you miss out on becoming better or growing. If we transcribe this into business, it means that you would need to, what we say, try out a lot of things in order to hit on the most viable process. All right. Now, there are a lot of tools that limit the extent of the number of things you need to try, but you cannot prepare enough to completely eliminate the prospect of failing in your progression towards success as far as business is concerned. Because there's something called inexplicable market changes or movements. And nowadays it's even faster than it used to be. So the last time we were having a conversation and then we realized that the concept of business plans, all right, it's even losing its ironclad reliance, because your financial progression or financial perspective, you know, it in itself can change so drastically that you would realize that although you have planned and prepared, you are still going to experience difficulties in the market because things change so suddenly. And therefore, the idea of failing must be understood to be part of the process of succeeding. It is true that there are some failures that will draw you back a couple of years, a couple of months, or could even completely destroy your business. But even that cannot be termed as a complete loss, because at least you have the experience of things that don't work. And I like the way Thomas Edison is said to have explained the reasons why he was not succeeding in inventing the light bulb. And when they asked him, say, you failed some say 9,000, some say 9,900 times. He said, no, I have not failed. I have found 9,000 times that won't work. Now, it is a matter of numbers, right? It means that the more ways you find that don't work, the easier it is to get to the place where it works. But you need to be learning the lessons from your failings in order to accelerate your success. Other than that, you will be in a cycle of failure, and then eventually you get to a dead end. So the concept of failing is significant in the journey towards success, because that's the only time you get better. That's the only time you learn. That's the only time you realize that things that don't work. It creates in you the the capacity to withstand adversities. And then it allows you to be able to become creative and then to be able to move on and avoid the potholes. Recently, I watched a TED talk where the speaker was talking about the different types of intelligence, and he was mentioning that some of the most significant things that people who are able to achieve significant things do not only rely on IQ, and that IQ is important, but not as important as two other things. That is emotional quotient, or emotional intelligence, and then adversity quotient. Now, adversity quotient means your capacity to withstand roadblocks and then detours. All right. Now, if you don't have a high adversity quotient, you lose hope quickly, or you lose the fuel that you need to move on. Then the question comes in, it's a very, very important philosophical question. When do you decide that this thing is no longer working and I need to give up and try something else? Or I need to keep working at it and keep improving and building on my adversity quotient? Now, it's a very, very dicey question. I've never been able to answer it in a straightforward way. But what I know is that the more you pick lessons from the things you fail at, the better you become at doing the things that you want to do. But when you get to a point where you have done everything you can, you have picked all the lessons that you have picked, and yet you are still not able to break through or move beyond a point of failure, then it is time to probably readjust and then go somewhere else or do something else, right? It is not, I don't think there is a template to analyze when people should realize that things are no longer working, they should move on or they should stick to it. But what I know is that if you apply all the lessons from the various failings that you have endured and you are still not being able to break through, it is better to probably either pause and rethink the road on which you are on, or just stand back a little bit and have a clearer view of the things you are doing. So in all, what I would say is that failing is part of the progression toward development and success. And it happens in biology, it happens in economics, it happens in business, it happens everywhere. The only difference is that because we have the fear part of our brain is still as strong as it was during the times where failing resulted in death and all those things, we have come to this current system with that kind of fear inbuilt in us. And therefore, it makes us trying anything with the prospect of failing something that is scary, to the point of we even fear for our lives. So what I will say is that failing and in a longer extension, rejection should not be something that we should be afraid of. We should see it as tools to help us to go further. Tools to help us to get further. The airplane is always failing, right? When you start the airplane to autopilot, it's always failing. The only thing it does is that it keeps recalculating and then keeps readjusting itself. So consistently, it's failing off the flight route and keeps readjusting and recalculating. All right. So the whole idea is this. It has been inscribed as part of the flight process that we will keep going off the flight plan and we keep readjusting and coming back on the flight plan so that you know when and how to move on to the next. And therefore, what I would say is that it is always a difficult thing because, like I said, it's biological. The fear of failure is biological. But then you can build your adversity quotient by exposing yourself to smaller amounts of failure or rejection to the point where you become rejection proof. I read a book that a gentleman did a rejection proof project. I'll be working on more like, I don't know if it is a project or something, to help individuals who have a very, very deep fear of failure and rejection. All right. Now, I want to try it out first. And then I'll be able to teach it. Okay. Now, what it entails is that the program entails doing things that you never thought things you definitely know you won't succeed. You just list 100 things. It doesn't matter whether you know you will succeed or not. 100 things. The only thing is that they should not be life-threatening. All right, 100 things. So and then every day you do one of them. Amongst the 100 things, there are things you obviously know you'll be rejected. But the more you get the rejection and you realize that you didn't die. When you got rejected, you didn't die. When you failed, the world didn't come to an end. The better it becomes. Your brain then just starts adjusting itself. It's called conditioning. Okay, it's called conditioning. So you consistently expose yourself to reduced or minimal amounts of rejection and failure to the point where you overcome it. It's just like I said, that's how vaccination works or immunization. We introduce a weakened parasite or virus or bacteria into the body, and then the immune system starts attacking it and then use it to build its strength. All right, to the point where when the real thing comes, it's no longer a threat to the body. And so rejection proof, the rejection proof project is going to be like that. And so I'm just telling everybody who is on the call, if you're interested, when I'm done with it, I'll make it available and then you can work through it. Probably, look, some of the activities I saw with, the original guy I read about, he actually even asked a celebrity out and he knew he would be rejected, but it was part of the process. To a point where he became so bold talking to anybody at all. After all, he's done it severally, he didn't die. So what's the fear? So I think that the more you do, the better you become. And therefore, but it's always very critical and essential to learn the lessons. That is what is important. Other than that, you would remain stuck. So it becomes like a vicious cycle. So the difference between being stuck in a vicious cycle of failing and then failing actually becoming an instrument or tool for you to succeed is learning the lessons. Because for example, you cannot be working on a business and now that social media marketing is just, everybody is on social media and you are anti-social media and you started a business and you got onto social media very late. You weren't even doing this seriously and then your business didn't work out. Now the lesson is what? Is that you have to take advantage of all marketing platforms, right? So it means that for your next business, you need to apply this lesson. If you don't apply the lesson and you keep doing the same thing, then you are doing something else than business. You're actually doing insanity. Okay, so the solution to using failing to be part of your successful journey is to learn the lessons. And the concept of getting used to failing is to keep exposing yourself to it, to a point where you no longer feel that fear or life-threatening state that it puts you in. One last thing I would say is that a lot of people think that people who procrastinate are lazy. They are not. Actually, procrastination is a symptom of anxiety and perfection or perfectionism. People who are always wanting things to turn out perfect sometimes delay in implementing or taking action because they are not convinced they are ready yet to achieve the perfect results they want. So they keep putting it off. So they are anxious for a perfect result, and because of that, they are not ready to implement immediately. Okay. So my last words would be that failing should be embraced as part of the successful journey in business, in life, and lessons must be learned from every failure in order to make the next attempt have a higher chance of succeeding. Okay. So I think I'll end here. And because it's basically asking me anything, we have to have a lot more questions.
I see. This has been a very power-packed one, from biology to psychology. It's been very interesting. So some of the comments here highlighted some of the things you said. Wow. Albert says, I can relate to the perfectionist and procrastination. I see, that's really interesting. So we'll open up for questions. If you have questions, you can type. If
somebody asked a question, I didn't hear it.
Okay. So far, there's not been any question in the chat box, but Dr. Tineje, I would want to find out. Have we lost Dr. Tineje?
Yeah, I think his line dropped.
Okay. I'm sure he would join again. Okay, so Theophilus says the presence of adversity is the only way we grow or survive. That's the highlight of one of the things Dr. Tineji shared. As I said, you need to be learning the lessons from your failings to accelerate your success. This is very, very important, learning the lessons. Okay, Dr. Tineji is back with us. Okay, so we have a lot of people who can relate with procrastination not being laziness. We have a lot of people who want to perfect their work or do the perfect thing. Catherine can also relate with that. Okay, so Dr. Tineji, I wanted to find out, so failure being something that is part of growth or a growth process, can too much of it affect a person or an entrepreneur in this context? Can too much of it affect an entrepreneur's mental health? And then how can they go about it? You talked about taking failure in bits, like, oh, his line has dropped again. Oh, okay. We'll wait for him to join, but we'll read some of the comments. So Catherine says, me too, thank you for getting back to this. I remember you saying, even when you are doing nothing, you are doing something in the beginning, and I kept wondering what you mean. And Ken Albert says, failing is not sweet. So how does an entrepreneur condition his or her mind to accept failure? Okay. You can keep dropping your questions as we wait for Dr. Tineji to join. Also, if you have any input or insights you'd also want to share, you can share with us. You can unmute and then you share with us. I know we have a lot of experienced entrepreneurs on the call, people who have gone through cycles, failed numerous times, and you have a lot to share with us. You can unmute and then share with us.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello, Aminata. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm Aminata from Sierra Leone. I'm into fish farming. So yeah, failure. First of all, most entrepreneurs of us, like, we are prone to mental health. So that's one thing we deal with. Mental health is real. So I always tell people it's okay not to be okay. When you're not okay, you have to say it. It's okay not to be okay. So it's not a shame, like, I'm not doing fine, guys. So continuous failure will really get it worse. So for me, when you start getting too much failure, you need to sit back. Sit back and reflect and do, like, I'm doing the right thing, or do I need to ask questions? Or do I need to ask people, right? So when you see too much failure, there is the say you can't be doing the same thing and expect new results, right? So maybe you are repeatedly doing the same thing and you are not seeing results. So it's time for you to reflect back, sit down, and just probably a week or two, and just sit down and try to reflect and see, like, I try to reflect. In that moment of reflection, you try to understand, like, can I do this thing differently? Like, I've been doing this for like maybe a year or two, like, I'm not seeing results, right? So for me, if you're having consistent failure, you need to sit back and go back to the drawing table. There is no shame of you maybe stopping certain things. So when I started my business, I was doing everything, because I was the first, like, my company is the first fish farming company in Sierra Leone. So I was trying to do everything. I was doing consultancy, producing, feel like I become very overwhelmed. Then I go back to the drawing table, like, I say, no, like, I can't do certain things. So when somebody asks me for feed, I'll tell them, like, I can't really produce feed because they know I can, but like me doing all, trying to cover all the value chain and the industry, I was really, really becoming overwhelmed, and things were not really going out well for me. So like I decided to, like, say, you know what, I'm going to focus on this. So now I'm only doing 13 maximum. That's what I'm doing. So now I only produce input consultancy, which kind of a bulky one. I do within the consultancy, I do training, I do exercise habit. So now I don't produce feed. I don't produce feed for anybody. I produce feed for myself. I tell people, I know, like, I need to produce feed, but like, it's really stressful for me to be doing everything. Right. So at times you need, like, I fail in producing catfish. I have my artery is closed. I feel like I said I did 3 breeding before traveling last year. I did not succeed. I did not continue doing it because I sit back and realize that maybe one thing I realized, like, the male, we are not really getting enough sperm. So when I was doing the artificial breeding for the catfish, I decided to put a hold on it. So since July last year, I stopped. Like, now I'm going to start again. So at times there is no issue of you pausing or maybe even totally, entirely stop that particular part of your business and pay attention to another thing. So now I'm seeing a smooth running with my consultants because I observed that, like, the skill gap in the industry. It's a new industry. There's a skill gap. So now I do training, which run every 2 months. Then I'm now trying to develop my input, trying to get more input. So like for the whole of this last year to this year, I did not sell to people. Ask me, do you have fish? I said I have, but I'm not going to sell. I'm keeping it for my parents. So at times there's no shame telling people, like, I don't have products right now. Yeah, I know when you're an entrepreneur, when customer asks you, like, he wants to say I have. Me, when I do have, I would say, like, I don't have at this moment, but if you can wait, I can. So there's so many things, like, just need to sit back and reflect. For me, that's what I've learned for the past. I'm still a startup because I'm just 4 years. This September will make me 5. I'm 5 years, so I'm still a startup. I'm learning. But for me, what I've seen, like, when things are not really going well, you need to sit back and reflect. Yeah, you really have to do that. You really have to do that. Yeah.
Many a times we overwhelm ourselves as startups or entrepreneurs. So it's important to sit back and reflect. So Dr. Tineje is back. Okay, we have Ike. Ike, you can unmute and share with us.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. This is a very awesome session. I think one of the best sessions I've had for a very long time. Apparently, I want to ask a question, but then there'll be a follow-up question on that as well. So, do we have a limit? Does failure has a limit, a timeline?
Okay, so Dr. Tineje will take that for us.
I mean, definitely failure.
And then there's the follow-up question for you to succeed based on. Please, can I add the next question?
Yeah.
So that you combine both of them. Yeah. So the follow-up question is that. So what happened? Actually, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Ike from Deaf Can Talk. So we are working for persons with disabilities. We were actually creating a platform where persons with hearing disabilities can access video content in sign language. We did this over a period of time, and we transformed based on our failures. We've now transformed into something very, very useful and something that can generate revenue, feasible revenue for us, where we are now into a speech-to-text and then a text-to-speech product that allow persons with hearing disabilities to actually communicate freely with hearing people. So I just want to inquire from you first, do you have a limit to failure? And then the second question is that at what time you have practiced all the solution, all the strategies that you like to implement to overcome failure and it is not working out, at what instant do you say it's a game over for you to transform? Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, yes. Like I was doing that. Thank you very much, Ike. When I was doing the presentation, remember I mentioned it that I've been asked these questions separately. And along the years, what I've come to realize is that there definitely has to be a limit to how many times you can fail. We were all grew up with the idea that if at first you don't succeed, try again. And some people have these slogans, never ever give up. You don't have to ever give up, always persevere. But if you grow and you do a lot of things and you're into business for a while, you realize that that advice cannot be taken literally, all right? Because there has to be a certain point where you should realize that it is because of the things you are doing or the road you are on, not just the content of the road you are on. That is the problem. Okay. For example, if I'm going to Accra and I set off towards Ebuakwa, right? And then I get to a point, my GPS says, take left, and I take left. And I keep going, I take right, left, take right, left, left. And I realize that I'm in Sunyani, but I want to go to Accra. Look, I've done reverse, I've done right turn, left turn. I've put fuel in my car. I've done whatever it is, I'm heading towards the wrong place. So there's a point where I should actually change the road I'm on, not just the things I'm doing on that road. Okay, so there is a point where you would have to reassess the very business you're actually even into. All right, and I like it. The lady who was talking about her business, I think she is into is it fish feed?
Fish farm, yeah.
You realize that you are doing a lot of things, and you are experiencing. What I heard from, the last part of it, she was experiencing health. Is it health or wellness challenges? Right? Was that it?
Yeah.
Yes. And so she decided that, look, it's not just about doing that and that and that. It's actually about stopping doing something that is going to make me hit the success place I want to do. So you realize that she didn't just change the way she produced the feed, she stopped. You understand? Now, that is assessing all the pathways you can take, picking all the lessons, evaluating and re-evaluating, and even asking for feedback and realizing that, look, it's not just the things I'm doing, it's also the place I'm going. That is where the problem is. And therefore, I need to stop and then change directions. All right. So what I would say is that I can't tell you exactly when you should give up. But what I can say is that if you assess all the pathways you are on, if you do a re-evaluation, you change everything you are doing, you are implementing all the lessons you've learned from the various times you've tried. And then you realize that, look, it is still not working. You are taking feedback, you re-evaluate, and you realize that, look, things are not still working. Then probably you need to stop and then do something else. Right, but I can't tell you, Ike, for a fact that, okay, if you do this 25 times, stop. Or if you do this 7 times, stop. But you should really keep reiterating, keep reevaluating, keep implementing the lessons that you have picked from the failures you've had. All right. There's also one thing that you need to remember, that for every single person, there are some things you can't compromise on. So they have to be more like your principles, And so that will be an easier question to answer, in the sense that, look, if you keep reiterating and you realize that your peace of mind is being affected all the time, it's probably time to quit. No matter how many times you change or addresses or reassess the situation, your peace of mind still keeps getting. If peace of mind is one of your priorities, then it's a time to quit. Perhaps maybe your health is a priority, and then no matter how many times you change or adjust your business plan, your health is still in trouble, then it's time to quit. So I think that it will be individualistic, and if you have a certain sense of instinct and assessment of your own personal development, you will realize when to quit or when to move on. I think Catherine sent, I saw the text flash in front of my screen. Yes, I think it was a question I really wanted to speak on, and I wanted to finish with Ike's own. Is there something like that? Catherine has typed a question.
Yes. So she says, how do you lead your team in times of failure of your business?
Okay, so it's a very, very important question, because you see, you are the spotlight. You are a leader. Basically, it's more of like based on the type of business you are into. The leader would be like the captain, or the coach, or the team manager or something. Everybody is looking at you. Everybody is looking at you. If you are throwing up your hands in the air and then you are arguing and shouting and having a despair look in your face, your people would also have the same experience. Because leadership is influence. Right? So if you understand the process of failing as part of the successful journey, then it is up to you to lead them through that process. You need to let them understand that the journey towards startup and then success, wherever success means to you, will involve walking through the valleys. All right. And you as a leader is prepared to go all the way. So you first of all need to encourage a certain sense of hope and optimism in your people. And then you stay focused on the vision, which is quite important. Because if you don't get the vision, you can't translate it. Right? So the focus is significant. You need to remind your team that this is where we are going. And it is not going to be a smooth ride. But I, your leader, am committed to this pathway. And therefore, I want you to be with me. So you should inspire optimism and hope, and you should focus on the vision. All right. And then there's also one thing that is very, very important and significant. You should be empathetic enough to the various moods and emotions of your team members. Not everyone has the capacity to experience failure as you probably would have. And therefore, you should appreciate their individual emotional states and then meet them at that point. All right. Because look, I have a feeling that success for a leader is to look at the final line and then see that every one of his team members have crossed it. It's not just you crossing it. That is not success enough. If you're a team leader or if a leader of a company, every one of your people coming with you across that line is success. It does not mean that there will not be people who will leave or who will fall off. But your focus is the vision and then taking as many people as possible. So you should inspire hope. You should realize that you are the person they are all looking up to. And therefore, what you do will influence their behavior and their attitude towards the state that you are in. And therefore, so you should inspire optimism, inspire hope, remind them of the vision, encourage them, and then, be empathetic to their individual reactions and emotions they display as far as the feeling is concerned. I don't know if I've answered Catherine's question fully for her.
Wow, thank you very much. You've definitely answered my question and inspired me at the same time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Oh, that's great. So Albert and Maxwell also had a question.
Yes.
I don't know if it has been answered along the line for them. So Albert says failing is not sweet. So how does an entrepreneur condition his or her mind to accept failure? So I think a bit of it has been touched on, but Albert, if it's not fully answered, you can let us know. And then we also have Maxwell says, how do you manage your emotions and mindsets when facing failure or setbacks in your entrepreneurial journey?
Yes, I have been a very big advocate for emotional intelligence. Consistently. Self-sabotage is as a result of lack of emotional intelligence. And in the sense that if you understand what you are feeling, right? If you recognize what you are feeling and you don't mislabel it or you don't misunderstand what you are feeling, you are able to deal with what you are feeling and you are able to use that experience to deal with others if they are feeling the same way. Now, the whole concept of emotional intelligence is 4 parts: self-knowledge, self-management, others' knowledge, relationship management. All right, there's a fifth, which is empathy, but it can be included into the top 4. Now, it means that you need to understand how you respond to things. And when I am teaching people emotional intelligence, one of the things I always keep reminding them is that there are some emotions that are secondary emotions, and there are also primary emotions. Now, a secondary emotion is an emotion that has been activated by a fundamental emotion. Now, if you address that secondary emotion only, you are not going to get a result you need. It's just like if it's just like you have a mango tree on your compound and you don't want mangoes. So you decide that, okay, if I don't want mangoes, I'm going to pluck all the mango fruits and hope that the next time the tree bears, it's going to bear you orange. It doesn't work that way. All right. So you can deal with a secondary emotion and forget about the primary emotion and not get the results you need. And one of the most insidious secondary emotions is anger. Anger is always a secondary emotion. So I tell people, whenever you feel angry, sit down and relax and understand what is inspiring this anger. Is it disappointment? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? Is it disgust? Is it whatever it is? Because there are several emotions that translate itself as anger. All right. Now, because this is not a session on emotional intelligence, I'm not going to waste time on it. But what I'm saying is that you need to understand how you respond to things, right? And know how to do and manage it. Then you can be able to understand how your team is responding to failure and be able to deal and manage it. All right. And a lot of us are what I call emotional illiterates. Because when we grew up, the things that we're interested in school is the intelligent quotient. So we know mathematics, we know tech, we know coding and all those things. But most of us can't even identify if we are really experiencing anger or we are just afraid. Let me ask you a question, Joe. You have a sister, okay? And your sister goes to school and she closes quite late, or she comes home quite late. And then you advise your sister that because it's quite dangerous these days, if she's going to come home late, that is after 10 o'clock, she should call you. Right? And then she doesn't call you. And so you set up and then it's 10, 10:30, 11. And she's not called. So 11:30, she comes. And then you are angry at her. All right? And you shout at her. So let me ask you a question. Are you actually angry or you are afraid?
I think it's more fear.
Exactly. But how did you express it?
Through anger.
Exactly. So if your sister doesn't understand that you are afraid, she'll respond to your anger with what? How will she respond to your anger?
With anger.
Exactly.
With anger.
And you see, although you are completely being caring, she doesn't see that way because she could not be able to translate the real emotions you're experiencing in a way that she will get and understand it. And so the concept, so for example, if you had a lot of emotional intelligence training, you would pause and think that, look, I am only feeling angry towards my sister because I'm afraid for her safety. So I need to communicate my fear to her so that she understands why it is important to alert me when she's coming home late. That is completely different from expressing anger when she comes home. All right. So imagine she comes and you are able to actually express your fear towards her. Most of the time, what is she going to do? She's going to apologize and then say that next time she's going to call you, whatever it is. But if you express anger, of course, that evening you guys are going to argue. All right. So you need to understand how you respond to issues. So for some people, they respond to failure by being completely disgusted with themselves. Okay. Now, disgust is also a secondary emotion. So you ask, why am I disgusted? Is it because I think people will feel I am not qualified? Or is it just me who have a very high self-critical mind? All right. So the processing of that emotion helps you to be able to overcome it and to encourage your team members to do the same. So emotional intelligence is very, very critical, especially when we are dealing with failure and disappointments. All right. So I'll encourage every single entrepreneur here to work on your emotional intelligence. And then if you do that and you are experiencing failure, you are building your adversity quotient, you have the total package. Of course, school gave you intelligent quotient. So you have all three, and then you are more likely to succeed.
Wow.
Yeah, I tend to speak too much when I'm talking about emotional intelligence, so forgive me if I am speaking too much.
Don't worry, the next session we are getting more on that. We will delve deep on emotional intelligence because it's very, very key for entrepreneurs. So the next session we are having that. I'm sure most of the people on the call agree with me on this. I wish we had more time to go deep, but all too soon, our time is up.
Oh.
Our time is up.
We are going to do a part 2 next month.
Definitely. Then we'll add the emotional intelligence to it, because it's been very deep. It's been very, very deep, and a lot of learnings. Yes. So thank you so much, Dr. Atineji. I don't know, we'll take a few last words for the next 5 minutes. If anyone is on the call and wants to say something short, we just have a few minutes to wrap up. You can unmute and then share with us your takeaways, what you've learned, any comment. We just have 5 minutes, so you can just unmute and then be quick, be brief as much as possible. Okay. So Albert says failure is part of the journey to success. Yes. It's very true. Okay. So any last takeaways? Okay, Theophilus too has shared a lot. Lead the team through process when things are not going on well in the business, and let them understand that there are valleys in entrepreneurship journey. And the most important thing is to focus on the vision. Yes, focus on the vision and keep evaluating, keep reiterating. And then remember, your peace of mind is one of your most important assets. Thank you so much, Dr. Tineji. Okay, we have Albert says, so we'll do our best even though we don't enjoy it. It's never sweet, but it's part of the process.
Definitely, definitely. You know, somebody says that if you haven't tasted bitter stuff before, you don't really appreciate sweet stuff. You think that life is just, just like that. But if you experience all the bitterness and you start seeing the sweetness, you're like, hey, Charlie, it's sweet, but it's a different experience altogether. Yes. So one thing I also say is that now, of course, I can't leave the session without talking about AI. Now I am AI evangelist one.
Yes. That was what Mamikaya was waiting for.
Yes. And the things that AI is doing, especially in the entrepreneurial field, is crazy. It's mind blowing. And I mean, I keep saying that we were, as people in Africa, we were slow to catch on to a lot of things, right? And we realized how bad it worked against us. But now AI is here for us, and we are given an opportunity to get in early. Okay, and so because of that, I have taken it upon myself to be talking about it every day. And I'm hoping to bring everybody on board, because if we allow this revolution to also pass us by, I don't know what else we are going to get on anymore, And so we are working on a meetup, and I'm working with Albert and Sam and all those guys. And so we are going to have a community meetup and talk about AI consistently. I mean, I think going forward, we are going to do a lot of trainings and stuff like that. So as an entrepreneur, you need to know about AI, the things that are going to affect a specific field, and what you can use those tools to make your business better. And I believe that with the presence of AI, we can reduce the incidences of failure, and then be able to consolidate the lessons better, and be able to quickly move from failure to success in a shorter time. Right. So it's there to help us to accelerate our progress into success, every part of the business. And therefore, if you're talking about failing and the way to go about it, we also can't stop talking about AI and AI tools and the revolution that is occurring over the world. So I'm encouraging everyone, as soon as you hear or see the flyer, please register, and let's meet up and discuss AI and see how we can use the tools to change our lives and become better. Yes.
Absolutely. We are looking forward to this. We are looking forward to it so much.
So it looks like Josephine is frozen by the mention of AI.
Gideon.
You've not been fair to Josephine, but we are sure you sent ChatGPT to bring her
I
back.
think there is a bot in her system that doesn't like AI.
All right, so thank you so much, Dr. Samuel J, for that enlightening session you have had with us. We've all enjoyed it. I can see that many people were not bothered even as we began going over time, because in some sessions you see people leaving, but I can see that people are here and they want to learn more. So I'm sure that when people see the flyer for the AI meetup, they will join to hear more from you. Now that Josephine is back, please, you can continue to conclude the session.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Sorry, my network dropped. Okay, it's been a very, very insightful session. You've really touched on a lot of this within a short time. I think Catherine even shared in the comment section. Thank you. We are really grateful. So we'll be looking forward to the AI meetup and also the next month session on emotional intelligence, and then AI as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Tineji.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining today's AMA. I hope you've learned a lot. But before we leave, if it's possible, you can turn on your cameras so that we take a virtual selfie. Please turn on your cameras so that we can take a picture.
There should be an AI that actually shows people's homes and how they are and take the picture.
Hey, it should intrude on their privacy.
It doesn't matter.
Elon Musk and his people will come after you.
So, Josephine, are you counting down? All right, so I'm going to count down from 5 to 1, and then Maxwell, you can take the picture. So 1, 2, Ma'am Kaya, we can't see your face. 3, 2, 1. Give us a smile. Max, you are done?
Smile. Smile and ticket.
Okay, right. Have a good evening and see you all at the next session.
Have a good evening. I want to thank my co-students and my winners and finalist agribusiness women for making me proud and coming. Thank you all, ladies. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.